I recently did an all-white gaming PC build on the channel using this 4070 Aero and also the Z790 Pro X from Aorus. Perfectly complemented each other. Very nice build. I'm really happy with how that came out. One of my favourites I think I've done yet. But it technically wasn't all white. Someone mentioned on Facebook that the power supply cables were black, and it's got a point. I didn't have any ATX 3 extensions. I had the white standard 24 pin, but I didn't want to go with one white and one black cable, just wouldn't match, you know, OCD and all that. But Thermaltake have kindly sent over this Snow GF3 power supply for me to look at. So today we're going to do an unboxing of this and check it out. This is the 1200 watt. You can get a 850, 1050 and then the 1200. I will put the pricing on the screen if you're wondering about any of the other options. This is the highest wattage Snow power supply they've currently got, but I'm sure they'll bring out bigger ones in time, but realistically this is probably the most that you're going to need. So now I've got that plastic out of the way, we can talk about some of the key features. We've got a full ATX 3 compliant power supply, so you can do the 12 watt high power cables for like the 40 series cards, some of the late 30 series, and it is a fully sleeved white cable as well, so it's going to match all the 24 pins, 8 pin EPS and all the rest. There's a smart zero fan mode on there as well, so less than 30% load the power supply fan won't spin up, so it's going to keep your system nice and quiet. 100% Japanese electrolytical capacitors, 10-year warranty. You've also got a single 12 volt rail on this as well, so if you're going to do any overclocking it's going to be extra stable rather than having a power supply that's got two rails. Got a product warranty policy leaflet and also about the connections, but I'll run you through those as we go. On the left hand side we're of course going to have the unit itself. You can already see that white showing through. God, it looks very bright on camera. And then we've got all of our cables. Now going back to the all white PC build, I actually want to check the whites of these products. Now you do need to bear in mind that paint applies differently for different surfaces. So for example, we've got a plastic bezel on this graphics card, and then the power supply is metal. Won't be the same color because obviously different companies, but they can have a little bit of a tinge depending on what they're applied to. So the power supply I'd say is a little bit more red, whereas the graphics card with the white is, I think, as white as I've seen on a product to date anyway. A little bit of a difference if you were to put them really side by side, but I think at a quick glance in the system they're not going to be that noticeable. It's going to be more down, I think, to the cables, because obviously they're going to be the visible part in the PC, whereas the majority of people will have a case that hides the power supply anyway. Orientations of the stickers, when it's in your system you'll see the writing the right way up whatever way you put it, so it's always good to see whether it's fan side up or fan side down. On the back we've got the little smart zero fan mode that I mentioned, so when it's less than 30% load the fans won't spin. A bit more information on that where you plug it in as well. There's the 135mm fan, actually a white fan as well. I've seen a couple of power supplies that have had black fans but then a white shroud over the top, so we've actually got a white fan with a white shroud, so good job to see that. And we've got the business end where all of our cables will connect. Now obviously you can't really tell what's included just by looking at those because a lot of them do break off. So let's now look at what we've got included. So we've got a power cable in the box. This will be region dependent where you are. This is just an imported one, that's why I've got a different one. Then we've got some power supply screws and some zip ties in there as well. So I've got two bunches of cables. Let's get these undone and have a little bit of a closer look. I've now got all the cables out on the table, and a little bit of a correction. I might have said at the start that these were braided, which I thought they were. They're actually flat ribbon cables. So a little bit of a shame. I would like to see these as fully braided cables, as this is a more premium power supply. I think it will just make them feel a little bit nicer as well. They do feel a little bit like plasticky in the hand. So a little bit of constructive criticism there for Thermaltake. Hopefully we'll see one that has a fully braided kit, because I think it would make it certainly feel like a lot more of a premium product, especially as you're going to pay £200 for it as well. So this is the ATX 3 compliant cable. You've got the 4 sense pins on there as well. And then that's another thing to just mention, that kind of sits a little bit loose, so it kind of flaps around a little bit, but hopefully once you've got it connected and then you get a nice bend in, it should hopefully sit with the rest of the cables, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So that's now plugged into the card. The sense pins don't sit very well. Actually, the thing that I've noticed, it's like trying to put a little bit of a bend on, it's just kind of gone off to the side. So again, I think if it was all braided all together, maybe just do like one bit of braid for that cable and then follow it around a couple of cable combs maybe. It might be something that they're working on, but it just needs a little bit of time to actually get that, you know, all worked out. Because we've seen a lot of cables before that have like a big bit of sleeving at the end and then it goes into the braid. It might just be a little bit of a technical issue that they're trying to work out just to see how it best fits. But as you can see, these kind of do fall off a little bit, so maybe a white zip tie a bit further around might hold it in place a little bit better. But it's certainly nice that we will have a white matching cable to go with the card. So let's look at the other cables we've got. So the 24 pin, again, this has a little bit of kind of all over the place cable going to it on the top, but hopefully once you've got a little bit of a bend in there, it will sit better. Just a little bit of a spaghetti junction, to be honest, at the end there. But hopefully if you take some time, kind of work out the kinks a little bit, it can look a little bit better. Going further down the cable, these are all kind of bunched up rather than a couple of individual cables, so they do again have that kind of spaghetti junction going on to them. So hopefully something that you can take some time and really get tidy, but currently at the moment it doesn't look like it's going to be an easy challenge, but hopefully something we'll be able to do when we use this in the build. Next up, we've got two EPS connectors, one of which is a 4+4, so you can break it away if you've got a motherboard that needs a 8 and a 4. Then we've got our PCI connectors. We've got two cables here, each of which have got two 6+2s, so you can do a total of 4 8-pins for your graphics cards on this power supply, so perfect if you're using like 7900 XTX. Then we've got some SATA cables. We've got two cables, each of which have got 4, so maximum of 8 on the power supply. We've also got some Molex as well. Each of these have got 4, and you've got 2 cables, so again 8 like we've got with the SATA. Then last but not least, we've got a SATA to floppy adapter if you still need to use one of those. So I'll put all those cables to the side. That's a future Jordan problem to get those back in the bag. The last things to talk about, we have got some protections for this power supply, so it supports OCP, OVP, UVP, OPP, OTP and SCP. A little bit of a mouthful and difficult to actually remember them all, but I'll put them all on the screen so you can see what they mean. But that was a look at the Toughpower GF3 Snow 1200 watt. Let me know what you think about it in the comments box. I'll also add the pricing and availability in the description if you want to get one. The little thing I'd like to see is, like I said, the braided cables for these, especially as some of these have got some black writing on as well. I think it kind of detracts a little bit from the otherwise overall white. But yeah, and then just braiding would just really finish it off to be a really premium product. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you to Thermaltake for sending this out for me to look at, and I'll see you all in the next one.